Podcast Charge!
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 135 of LostinTranslationmon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
And this week we watched A Family Quarrel.
Or the own-on-own match between men, Masaru vs. Suguru.
And The Truth About Bancho Leomon.
Or Impacto, the truth about Bancho Leomon.
Leomon. Isn't that like the clothing line?
No?
Lululemon? But it's just a Leomon evolution, so it's only a matter of time before Lululemon gets stabbed.
Lululemon.
I mean, Lunamon is a Digimon, so I guess Lunamon and Leomon become Lululemon, and they're a clothing line apparently. It's a clothing line like just made out of Leomon skin.
Oh, out of all the dead Leomon. That explains so much.
And that's why they're able to have a huge company, because there are so many dead Leomon. For DigiNews this week, first up, we've got some exciting news about Atmon. Atmon came 8th in the preliminary awards, so the top 100, and it came 8th.
Wait, preliminary awards? So there's real awards after this?
This is like the fan choice, and then an actual academy will look at it and vote, and probably not vote for Atmon at all.
They'll see Atmon and be like,
Digimon.
Which series of Russian bots put this here?
These are all fake. Hey, look, all the results come from Australia. All the votes for this. But no, I did vote once, obviously, for it.
Is that the twist of the story, that it's all you?
Yeah, it's just all me. I single-handedly pushed Atmon to 8th place. But the point is that is really, really great. Like, I'm pretty sure Yuri on Ice came first.
I still don't... Yeah, we talked
by
about the top
landslide.
3, and I can't figure out why. Like, I've heard, people like some of those shows, but I never really heard big things about them. But I guess it goes to show that things that have good reception in Japan doesn't necessarily reflect in the reception in the West.
Well, My Hero Academia is huge in Japan, if I recall correctly, and that came 15th. And I feel like Pokemon only came 40th or 50th. Like both Sun and Moon and X and Y. But I know that's really exciting for a Digimon series to rank so highly. I don't think that's happened before. It's good though.
Good on you, Haru and Co. You're the best Digimon characters.
They really are. I miss them so much.
Never coming back, lol.
I hope they do. I mean, as I've said before, I'm in two minds, because what if they come back and it's not a good season?
Oh, they could come back in a movie that's bad. You're right.
Yeah, they can come back in a movie that's bad, or they can come back in a 0-2 series that's bad.
Ooh, with all new kids you don't like and don't care about.
No, it's about like Watson and Eri's friends. I don't know, the other idols. But no, I would like to see an Atmon season 2, but like I think that if it's bad enough, it could sully the beautiful, beautiful show that was Atmon. For LostinTranslationmon, first of all, apologies. V-Tamer and Lane Eps for this month still haven't come out because we've been busy. I've spent time in and out of hospital, not for me, but for a friend. Also, it's Christmas. But as I said, the main episodes will never be delayed unless we have like time in advance to warn people.
Or emergencies.
But hopefully
actually,
next week.
Given May's slave driving nature, I could imagine the house being on fire and she's like, "No, we're recording right now."
Wait, no, we're not finished recording yet. I have to get this episode sent out. And the fire is literally like surrounding me. I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine, we can do this. But no, we hopefully will be getting the Lane episode, the V-Tamer episode, the Stage Play episode, and the Try Chapter 3 English Dub episode out next week. Hopefully, assuming everything is fine. We'll try obviously we won't release all of them in one day because that's insane. We'll try maybe once a day, hopefully next week. But yes, apologies, we haven't really had the time. My friend got pretty badly injured rollerblading, so I've been taking him to the hospital.
I think they got leprosy in the process. I don't know how.
No,
it looks like
his arm is just yellow and purple. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's why I think it's the leprosy, honestly.
He's got like a huge ball of pus that's popped out. Like it's he wants to get it lanced, but they didn't lance it because it's attached to nerves.
That's gross. You should tell us in way more detail than that.
Yeah, no, but it's so that's what I was doing today and the other day. But no, that's basically what's happened. And so yeah, well, apologies that it hasn't been out. I'm noticing a lot of people have been checking the calendar and our release schedule on our website, and I'm sorry, I keep on moving the dates.
It shocks me that people care, but it's so nice.
We have about 10 people a day checking, unless it's the same person every day. Like
I need to know.
Same person checking like every hour that they're awake.
Is it unique views that it tracks?
I'm not sure. I think if I clicked on it, I could see the unique views. But it's just like I was like, no, I'm sorry we've been slack. But the main episodes, they're still fine. Hopefully, we're recording this, aren't we? I guess
it's happening right now.
Speaking of recording things, we recorded this week's Obnoxious Synopsis, so what's happening after this segment, over Discord. We recorded over Discord, we recorded each individually on Audacity, and then I merged the files. So if it sounds like the audio quality is less good than what we're doing at the moment, or if like there's some syncing issues, my apologies. I tried to merge them with a clap.
But if it sounds better than usual, then let us know. We'll record that way all the time.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, when we're recording over the internet, we interrupt each other a lot because we don't know when we're about to talk and we're not watching each other's mannerisms.
Yeah, but what if it's way better?
Yeah. I mean, this will be a good solution for Obnoxious Synopsis because it's, Jay doesn't have to drive over for 5 minutes.
Yeah, drive 40 minutes to be like, hey, we did the thing. I'll leave now.
Yeah, and we could maybe do that for our shorter episodes like Lane or V-Tamer or any of the special episodes. So please actually let us know if it's good quality. It's literally right after this. Once I'm done talking, we'll do the transition music. So please listen in and see if it's okay. And that's it. And on to Obnoxious Synopsis. Please let us know if it's bad or good or if it's really good. Please give us feedback. The first episode we're watching this week is called A Family Quarrel, or the one-on-one match between men, Masaru versus Suguru. What do you think will happen this episode?
I think that Masaru will find his dad, and they'll have a big old punch-up. And I don't think there's going to be a conclusive winner. I think that before the fight concludes, Masaru's going to finally realize that that Yggdrasil is like an entity that's taken over his dad, not that his dad is actually decided that he is Yggdrasil now. I think that'll happen in this episode.
Right, and do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
I think that everything Masaru says, where it's like really, really obvious, hey, that's not your dad. It's like super clear that he's possessed, and he's always like, no, Dad, you abandoned us. It's all your fault. Like, that's all going to get really frustrating. Because, as I said before, I think that probably Bancho-Leomon is his dad, and there's some kind of soul swapping going on.
Right, and do you think it'll be a good episode?
You know what? I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be decent, yeah. Because we're probably out of the woods on just fighting a new Royal Knight every episode. There are a few left, but it's probably not going to be the focus of what we're doing. And the other kids are going to just hang out, probably fight Royal Knights and get distracted on their own while this is going on.
Right, so what rating do you think you'll give it?
Let's give it an incredibly optimistic 7, shall we?
So 7? So that's not too bad.
No, it's very optimistic.
Right. And filler or not filler? Which I guess I shouldn't really ask that question
It's
in the last like 4 episodes
of the season. And I think there have been seasons where like it was filler and it was the third last episode or something, but it's very unlikely.
What series? I feel like no series has had that.
I feel like it happened once. I can't remember off the top of my head though.
Because like I feel like usually in like the last couple of episodes, like some pretty heavy duty stuff is going on. Like, we've just defeated the Dark Masters, or we're finding out who Oikawa is, or the D-Reaper's happening.
I think Atmon
had
some like really late in the game.
Atmon had like character arc completion ones, I guess. Oh no, episode 45 was the Agumon episode.
Yeah, that's really late in the game for a pure filler episode to happen.
Well, well, at least we had a character saying, "Hey guys, Leviathan though."
Yeah, well, we had it, but it doesn't mean it's not a filler episode. In fact, like it defines a filler episode.
I guess Atmon was the only one that actually had that, and it just came 8th in the anime awards. It slipped back, but it still managed top 10.
It's the best 8th ever.
It would have been better if it was the 10th for that, just so it could be the true line. But
it's better to be 8.
Atmon's so good. Everyone watch Atmon, please. The second episode we're watching this week is called The Truth About Bancho-Leomon, or Impact, The Truth About Bancho-Leomon. What do you think will happen in this episode?
I'm sorry, say the truth about Bancho-Leomon.
The Truth About Bancho-Leomon?
Alright.
Because it's more or less in both titles.
I think my theory has some legs. It just seemed reasonable before, and now I think it might be more or less confirmed. And I've always sort of got a sense when I said it, and you're like, huh, that's a weird thing for you to say. It'd be cool if I called it. Sorry, what was the Japanese title?
Impact: The Truth About Bancho Leomon.
Okay, so they're literally both
It's the same title.
Okay, so because
Except there's some impact.
Because we find out in the last episode that Yggdrasil is an entity like homeostasis that's doing a possession, then the obvious follow-up question is, well then, in which case, what happened to Masaru's actual dad? And that's the answer. So we'll find out. And then he'll be like, no, my dad, he's all frozened up and, might die. And that's a bad time. So now he has to figure out how to unfreeze him. Either... I guess he's gonna punch Yggdrasil. That's probably the way to go. I would say anyone else would probably negotiate or work it out, but he's just gonna punch him.
Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
You know what? I can't think of anything based on this because I think I'm too chuffed from the idea that I might have been right for like 6 episodes.
Right.
I got to use the word.
I'm not gonna say either way.
That's all right. I'll find out.
I guess we find out soon.
I'll find out tonight or tomorrow morning.
Do you think it'll be a good episode?
Yes, because I tend to think Digimon with really long-term booking does a reasonable job. It's always when
definitely
things change or they clearly didn't put thought into it that it's like things fall apart. Because that's when you notice all the plot holes.
I think the majority of things that Digimon has actually like put stock into and made like foreshadowed it seems to work out quite well. Like Atmon had quite a lot. We got a letter about it a couple of weeks ago, which was Koshiro's adoption plot, which was foreshadowed really early on. I think that was well done
and went nowhere. And I felt like it meant nothing.
I feel no, it went places. It basically inspired his whole character and like his thirst for curiosity because he had that sort of curiosity about what was going on between his parents.
That's not a plot line. That's a character.
Okay, well, character plot. It's still a plot line. It's just a character growth plot line. It's still good.
It's not an arc if nothing changes. That just explains how he began.
Right. Okay. No, I can't see what you mean. So, what rating?
Look, I'm gonna give this a 9 if I'm right. Because I love that.
That's a high.
I love being right.
That's a high rating. I hope it's that good. I guess we were right about Atmon, and that felt pretty good. And I think we liked the episode more because we were right rather than the episode being good. The episode was still good, though.
We were right about everything except the one thing that never ever came up again. So
yeah,
like we couldn't have been right about it or wrong because they just didn't say. Would have made
right. And filler or not filler?
It's obviously not. Like it's the third last episode of the season. That's so nice to say.
What do you mean?
I love the Digimon finishing, and I don't have to do it anymore. Oh, it's a good time. Let me have this. I feel good about it.
You felt like differently about Atmon finishing though. You were kind of like, but I love Atmon.
That's true because it was good, but it's over.
Atmon was good.
It's gone and it's never coming back because they never bring any of the good stuff back. You know what they do? They say, here is episode 5 of Try. Enjoy!
Here's more adventure. I know we like adventure.
I do, honestly. Like, I like these characters, and I think that you can write good stories with them. What I think is fascinating is they decided to introduce a new character and write a story about them when they had 8 characters to write stories about and just decided against it.
See, Chapter 3 was so good because it actually it was good, Chapter 3.
Yes, it was.
I
agree.
The best one. And then, like, Chapter 4 was okay, and then Chapter 5 was just, But people did like Chapter 5, and it's doing quite well in Japan, so that's good.
Those people are allowed to be wrong.
No, I don't think they're wrong, but anyway, I guess we're done with Obnoxious Synopsis.
We are, and we can go on to the show.
On to the show. For this week, we'll be covering episode 45 and 46 as one episode because they're more or less a part 1 and part 2.
Because it picks up immediately after the end of this one.
Yeah, well, in fact, a couple minutes before this one ends.
That was weird.
Yeah.
In fact, there was so much to do, apparently there was no time for a recap between the two of them.
Which is good. It's good when they don't, like, we don't have enough time to do stuff. It's great.
I guess. I can't really remember the details of whether there's any way they could have cut time for it, but I wouldn't want them to.
Yeah, I feel like that's good, though. They're not trying to fill time in the last few episodes. And we'll probably be doing the same thing with episode 47 and 48, because the last 2 episodes usually are coupled pretty well together.
Oh, you'd hope so. Otherwise there wouldn't be contiguous stories.
Yeah.
I love when in Digimon they finally beat the bad guy and it's all done, and then the big, mysterious, super bad guy shows up at the end.
That's just the thing that happens in Digimon. It's either a new Digimon entirely, or it's no, you haven't even seen my strongest form.
Yeah, and that final form is always just something big and scary and totally uninteresting. And here we are.
Yep, here we are. But I guess we'll get to that. We've got a bit of a story to get through. Yggdrasil is having memories from Suguru's life, and he's wondering why these memories are coming back, and how everything should have been thrown away. In the dub, he's wondering why his memories are coming back.
So there's a theme in the dub which really bothers me, which is that they are committed to making you think that this is actually Suguru.
Yeah.
He will say things that will make no sense once the twist is revealed. And you can read it in the Japanese, in the subtitles. You can understand the way they're dancing around the idea. Every time Masaru says, "But you're human," he just ignores him. "You're my dad," ignores him. Talks about something else. He deflects. He goes
Not always.
elsewhere.
Not like in the original, he'll say,
I'm talking about the original.
I'm a god.
But that's the thing. He will never directly respond in a way that says yes or no to the accusations Masaru is throwing out there.
Right.
Whereas in the English, he'll say...
he straight up says, "I'm not your dad," in the English version. In the English version, there
and
was
then
a
Masaru
line...
yells, "You're not my dad."
No.
He does also say that. Yes. Don't say no.
No, he doesn't. What? I think you might be getting confused with the fact he says something like, "Who cares? Not my dad." It's a really lame sort of whiny line.
No, but if it'd be like, "Who cares?" And then there's like a pause, and then he goes, "Not my dad." Like it's its own line. I promise.
It's not.
It is.
It's not. No, it's like a comment like, "Who cares? Not my dad," as in the dad doesn't care.
He yells it.
No, he knows.
We can watch it right now.
Well, no, we're not going to watch it because I'm right, but that's what he says.
No, but
that's straight up what he says. He says, "Who cares?" Like it's a question he's asking himself, and then the answer is, "Not my dad."
Oh, it doesn't say he doesn't say, "I'm not your dad." He says, "You're not my son," which is different. That's a deflection.
No, he also says, "I keep telling you, I'm not your dad." He might have said both. Anyway, there are intruders, and Yggdrasil says how Craniumon must have forsaken him. And then we see the DATS team are walking, and what I like is that Masaru has all this battle damage on his arm because he's just been punching things constantly. And this is good, because it's not from this episode that he's actually showing battle damage from, and we don't get that in Digimon.
Not usually. I really wish they'd stuck it on Terrimon's face.
I guess it's because Digimon usually devolve, and maybe like they heal themselves a little bit when they devolve, like in V-Tamer.
But hold on, we've talked about... I complained about how they maintained battle damage at one point after they devolved, and you guys were like, "No, they always do that." But it's totally inconsistent.
Maybe it just makes them dirty. I don't know. But the point is, I guess because we've never seen it on humans, because humans don't usually get in the fight.
They don't usually get hurt.
But it is refreshing to see battle damage on someone. And I'm pretty sure through these episodes, Masaru maintains battle damage because he doesn't have time to like clean up his arm or wipe it off.
Well, what is it showing though? Is it just dirt?
I think it's scratches, but it could also be dirt.
Why would he get scratches from punching people?
It's generic lines on his arm.
Yeah, I know, which is always curious. Like, what does that mean? Because it could be bruising, which would make sense, or it would be dirt. Can't be scratches. When would Craniumon have scratched him?
No clue. I guess he got out his claws and went, "Meow." Craniumon's part dog, part cat, or part dog. He could be cat dog. So they're at the World Tree, and Masaru's climbing it, and Agumon knocks them down. And they're optic cables. In the dub, they're video cables.
The root, like the roots and vines on the tree.
Yeah.
And it's like the first time this digital world has been anything other than this another dimension.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, oh, it's a computer.
Yeah, this is a very like digital world weirdness, which I love.
Yeah, but it's like totally irrelevant. And then this is the sort of thing that I think a good series of Digimon would have gone, okay, how do we use these optical cables to do something cool? And all they did was like, well, that's interesting. Now Ikuta will just find a tunnel to get in.
No, what they do is they say we might be seen as a virus, and then they have like the antivirus software that comes to attack them.
I mean, yeah, they say that, but I don't see where the jump in logic for that comes, because they already know that the god of the digital world doesn't want them around. That doesn't change because of they see the optical cables. And they've already been attacked by things like the Royal Knights. Like the conclusion I don't think would come directly from seeing this, or at least it shouldn't have. They already feel like they're being treated this way.
Right.
In fact, you'd think that the Royal Knights are the antivirus software. I think I called pretty much exactly what happens in this episode precisely, except what they fight.
Right.
Which is to say, I would never have guessed it was weird floating crystals that, if I recall, actually don't do anything.
They reflect attacks.
But if you didn't attack them, what would happen?
They just kind of like look menacingly at you.
So the entire defense of the World Tree is forcing you to attack first, or otherwise nothing will happen.
Well, I think that's what antivirus does, right? It sits there until it's attacked. Like antivirus isn't actively, unless you force it to do a scan, antivirus is just sitting there most of the time. But the only time antivirus does anything is if it's attacked.
No, it spots code and says, we recognize that one as a virus in our database.
Yeah, and because it's starting to do an attack.
Not necessarily. It can be dormant, but it would recognize the coding, isn't it?
So it's coming up to you, and it
Yeah.
comes up to you as what it sees as a virus.
Okay.
And you attacking it is that, and also they don't have a database of what is a virus or not. They just know that's attacking it.
But
Do they,
what-
like Idris
So
crystals.
if the kids who have these things have been ordered to go beat up the kids, but if the kids didn't do anything, they would have been fine.
Yes.
That's dumb.
It's an antivirus without a database, which only looks for being attacked. Like some antivirus do that. Like a lot of free ones say, okay, we won't check our database, but we will protect you from any actual
That's
attacks.
fine, but then this is just like a silly threat where the kids just have to stop attacking it. And Tom is such a genius, he can't work it out.
Oh, he did work it out.
Did he just sit down and not attack it at all?
No, he's just like, magic attacks don't work. We have to use physical attacks to break it.
But
We can't reflect that.
those are both wrong. Just don't attack it at all.
Yeah, but then you have actually wanted to defeat it. We don't actually know what it would have done if they hadn't attacked it, because they only attacked it.
Did they ever actually succeed? I feel like they just were busy until they got distracted saving Masaru from falling.
No, they exploded them by punching them.
I don't
Because
know.
they worked out that they had to have physical attacks.
It was so unimportant.
Well, it's not the most important part of this episode. Like, there are many other ones that were more important than this. But still fine. Like, I thought it was a pretty cool aesthetic-wise. So Thomas says that the tree must be a main server for the digital world. Agumon asks what a server is, and Masaru says it's the thing you boil with miso sauce. And that's Saba.
That's pretty funny.
It's pretty cute.
The problem
Well,
with this
Saba.
The problem with this
And that's how
conclusion
server's pronounced.
is that the tree didn't exist until 4 or 5 years prior. So what server did the digital world run on before this tree existed?
It didn't,
So
because it doesn't need to.
So it's not a main server for the digital world, and he's just wrong.
Yggdrasil, yeah, he probably is. Yggdrasil still exists on a server, though.
That's always so weird, right? Why can't the humans just go to the server that hosts Yggdrasil in the real world and turn it off?
I think it is a server that's inside the digital world and it doesn't exist in the real world.
So it's a cloud server?
Yes.
But those are still real places.
And if it's not, I don't think it exists in the real world.
But it's the digital world, which means it exists on the computers.
Not this digital world, I don't think. They haven't actually said where this digital world originates from. In other seasons, it exists from something else in the real world.
That's
but in
why
this
this
one,
is
it
always
doesn't.
so frustrating.
Well, not real world. Well, the difference is in this season, it's called human world and digital world, like they're parallel dimensions. In
But-
other seasons, it's been real world.
Digital still means... That's still a word that means
Yeah,
something.
but we don't actually, do we know where the digital world originated from in this season?
No, as far as I'm aware, they've never talked about
I feel like
it.
Tamers is the only one that actually said this is where the digital world came from.
Adventure did.
No, Adventure didn't say where it...
Yes, it
Oh,
did.
no, okay, in the Wonder
They
Swan
put
games it did.
No, they in the temple, and they put the thing of the world up, and it overlapped onto the earth. Remember?
Yes, but that was saying where it is, not what, as in its origin story of how the digital world came to be, which was explained in the Wonder Swan games.
It came to be because
It's from-
digital
it was-
technology began, and it's a reflection of the
Well,
contents of that.
In the Wonder Swan games,
That seems straightforward.
it came from like the first ever supercomputer, like the first ever big computer.
Sure.
And it was based from that, I believe. From what I remember from when we covered the Wonder Swan games many, many years ago. But I don't think it's ever actually said in Savers where that digital world comes from. It's like Frontier. Like Frontier is just a place you can go on a train, apparently. Like
Yes,
there is
but they're on
nothing.
an elevator.
Yeah, well, elevator then train. But there's nothing in Frontier to actually say that the world is digital in any way.
No, I don't think.
Except,
no, I don't think there is.
except it's called the digital world, I believe, in Frontier.
Why?
Don't know.
Like, wouldn't any of the characters be like, "That's a weird thing to call your entire world"?
Yes.
That seems strange.
Yes,
No
correct.
one does.
No, but in Frontier, it's the least digital world,
What a terrible franchise.
except for maybe Atmon, because that's not the digital world.
No, it isn't, because it's the altered reality field.
Yeah, it's the AR field and the deep web.
Yeah, which is the digital world. Let's be honest.
Anyway, in the dub, it's called a mainframe, and Masaru says, "Oh yes, that's the thing that you put a photo in when you hang it on the wall," that's a fine localization.
Yeah, they couldn't do the Saba joke.
Well, I mean, because Saba and server don't sound the same, but Saba.
They could have got. I mean,
Because server is pronounced as Saba.
yeah, I know, but I'm trying to think. Like, is there anything you could have done with server? Soba, I guess.
Yeah, but
like,
I feel like they're trying to stay away from Japanese food as well.
That's fair.
Except for when they did manju.
Let's not remind the viewers that this is in Japan.
Yeah.
It's definitely America, I promise.
Lalmon says that a server is an electronic brain, and Thomas says they might appear as a virus. Yggdrasil's crystals go to attack them, and they reflect all of the kids' Digimon's
But
attacks.
do they go to attack them, or do they stare at them menacingly?
They stare at them menacingly, and yeah. Also, did Masaru punch any of these? I kind of want to see what would have happened if he punched them.
Yes, he just got Digisoul, and then they told him to go away. It was inside the tree.
That's strange then, because usually he doesn't get Digisoul for things that aren't Digimon.
The implication is that they are Digimon.
Okay, that makes sense. But he didn't get Digisoul from Craniomon's shield.
Yes.
Because that wasn't a Digimon.
Yes.
But Yggdrasil's crystals aren't really Digimon.
But they are.
They're
he's
fragments
God.
of Yggdrasil.
Sure. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. The show is, like, it falls apart when you think about it for more than 3 seconds. The entire plot line of how they don't know Suguru is LostinTranslationmon is nonsense.
I think they explain it quite well.
I think they don't. I think that it makes sense in each 30-second block in which they explain it.
We will get to that, though.
Yeah, I know.
We'll talk about that later.
It all falls apart when you put it together.
Agumon's tail gets set on fire.
It's really cute.
Which for some reason is cut in the English version.
It's violence against animals.
But it's just like, it's like what happens in Digimon is that the Digimon get hurt. I don't know why it was cut.
I think it would be really funny if there was a copyright issue where they go, that looks too much like Charmander.
Charmander.
Oh. We can't be having that.
Thomas says he'll hold them back, and Tom revolves Galmon, and then they go into a tunnel, and they complain about it being short, and Akuto says, I think it's fine.
Because he's very short.
Yeah.
It's funny.
In the dub, Keenan says it's a fine height for him, and Yoshi says to wait for another year or so.
That's fair enough. He's going to hit a growth spurt eventually. It's going to get real uncomfortable. So they show up in this cavern area, and that's when Masaru punches one of the crystals as they found pretty much immediately. He's about to fight it, and Yoshi goes, look, you can't evolve now. You're going to hit your head on the ceiling. There's not enough room. And so they run away, and about 10 feet back, Ikuto goes, look, there's tons of room here. And they all just laugh and go, that was a big waste of time. And then I laughed and I said, that was a big waste of time.
Right.
Because this whole scene was a big waste of time.
I thought it was fine.
And now Ikuto and Yoshi are both going to stay back at the same time to help out.
It's a cliche sort of thing, like, hey, wait, no, Hero, you go on, and they sort of, like, separate the team.
That's what Tama did.
Yeah.
But what's important about this one is that you have to remember, Ikuto and Yoshi, they're the same character. All their character episodes overlap now.
Yeah, they combine now. Which is really annoying because Yoshino could have had an interesting character story, and same with Ikuto.
It's because they're both half a character, so when you put them together, it's almost like there's one whole person there.
Like, I feel like Akuto's story, they're fine. That was sort of explained and finished with his whole, like, I am both Digimon and human. I'm a human with the heart of a Digimon.
There's so much more to go on that, because you can come to that conclusion, but what does it actually mean when you're trying to live that life? I feel
like it explained more than just Yoshino's did. Like, I feel like Yoshino's could have still gone quite interesting places.
I think it could have begun.
It could have begun, yes.
Imagine if Eri didn't have most of her character stuff and Watson had half of a character thing and they ended up having to share episodes. What a great series that one would have been then.
So there's some weird pacing to fit some mouth flaps. So there's a line that after Akuto, in this case Keenan says, hey, I'll stay behind. Marcus says, but how could you stay here? You're, silence, a little kid. Or maybe it was a silence, a little kid. And I found it really awkward.
I think you could have done that one well by like making it like she was hesitating to figure out what to call him. But
you mean he? Marcus is a boy.
So yeah, what he was like, if he was hesitating, you're a little kid, like he's gonna say something else.
But the way it was delivered, it just felt like they were just trying to force the mouth flaps.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yoshino wants to stay too, and she wants snacks in payment, like the snack that she asked in basically the first episode.
Forced him to pay for in the first episode. She didn't ask for anything. In
the dub, she asks for slippers and robes that smells pretty. And then I want to say during this whole scene in the dub, they have this really weird, like almost comedic moment music. And I feel like it doesn't fit at all. Like, they try to make the scene a joke scene because they don't take Yoshino and Akuto seriously in the dub.
Because they're not real characters. They're comic relief.
But
what are you talking about?
The goofy music, like Masaru and Agumon are having shenanigans. It's random. It just has this sort of... It's weird, unfitting music. It needs to be dramatic music. The same music that we had when Thomas said, hey, I'll do this myself. But they were given this sort of like, this is a funny moment. It's funny.
Agumon did just have his tail lit on fire.
Yeah, but that was before Thomas split off. That was a while ago now. Anyway, so Masaru starts climbing. We see that Sasuma's talking to Akuto's dad and talking about whether or not they can stop the merging of worlds. Ikuto's mum and sister are there, and I want to point out, what is with this family and not getting a babysitter?
They take them to work all the time.
Like, I thought we learnt our lesson here that it is not take your kid to work day, because take your kid to work day can lead in the kid, I don't know, going off and disappearing into another world for 10 years.
It is always take your kid to work day.
Like, yeah, take your kid to work and lose them for 10 years. And give them, like, pretty much serious psychological harm when they're, they are brought up by a Frosty the Snowman.
Maybe the mom's like, I'm not so sure about this one. They cry a lot. Maybe Maybe another portal will open up. I
Hey,
don't
look,
know.
it could have turned out well. He came back.
Oh, yeah.
He came back strong. He made friends.
Oh, I saved 10 years worth of financial like payments to raise a child. Maybe I can save all that money again.
Didn't need to put them through school. It's fine.
He doesn't know how to speak well, but beyond that, it's fine.
Also, like, this kid's a newborn. Like, I feel like this is not a good place for her, right?
Well, it wasn't a good place for Ukuto either when he was a newborn.
Yeah, she's in a basket. Probably not comfortable. A royal knight is showing up in the real world. It's Craniumon.
So what bothers me here is the reaction of the parents and such, and they go, "A royal knight's just come to Earth." Did they not know that Magnamon and Dynasmon are still around blowing stuff up?
I don't think they care because they haven't actually been doing anything.
But they have, presumably.
Okay, but it's not relevant to the characters because they haven't actually killed any of the main characters or tried to fight any of the main characters.
I know, but these characters are like, "Oh god, a royal knight," but there's 2 currently active.
Yes.
And they weren't doing anything about it.
And also part of the world might be on the moon.
I think they might have forgotten.
Maybe.
New York's just on the moon now.
Yeah, it's fine. Maybe they only know Japan.
Moon York.
Because they were royal knights throughout the world, but maybe they only can detect Digimon in Japan. Because the other dad's teams are working on those.
Oh, that would explain so much. I can't believe we never saw any of them.
Like, I'm not sure, like, remember the time where we did that in 02 and it was...
The worst thing ever, yeah.
Yeah, would you like another Digimon World Tour, which was 4 episodes?
No, I want a 5-minute bit where they go, "This is the team in this place and they're fighting this guy. This is the team in this place and they're fighting this guy."
And we could have had that in 02. Like, we did have some cool scenes where just like, oh, and the Digidestined of over here are like meeting on the border of Russia.
Yeah, I don't need the main characters to meet them and have a conversation. I just need to see, oh, that team exists? Great. That it kind of explains some stuff.
Yeah. Or at least have like shots of them fighting Dynasmon or something.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't, yeah, you're right. It doesn't need to have to be an episode. It can just be like a passing thing. Maybe they didn't have enough time during this
I would
moment.
take someone gets off the phone and says, "Oh yeah, the DATS team in Madrid is holding off Dynasmon." That's all I need.
I feel like the dub could have done this. It's like, oh, another Royal Knight is showing up this time in Japan. The other DATS teams are working on the other ones worldwide. Easy fix.
That's all it would take.
Easy, like, and they've
Easy
added
game, easy life.
They have added in mouth flaps before in the dub, or voices when mouths aren't shown.
Yeah, that's the best place to do it. When you just cut away from someone, you play their voice in the background.
Yeah, and the dub does that so often. Just, I'm surprised they didn't try to fix that because that's one of the things I would try to fix. Like, just put a small reference in just to say, oh yeah, we did say that was a thing. So Pyomon wants to fight Craniumon, and Craniumon says he doesn't have time for this. In the dub, he's a lot more aggressive. I guess it's because we're meant to think, oh no, Craniumon is bad.
Yeah, I hate that because, like, it's a swerve that they're building up for 2-3 minutes and then it goes away.
And we were just shown that Craniumon's good now. But in the original, it's very much the miscommunication of Pyomon saying, you're bad, you're a royal knight. And Craniumon saying, yeah, I don't have time for this. What are you doing? Why are you attacking me?
Can he just say, I just talked to Masaru, please chill out? No,
because that would make sense. Also, he doesn't have time to explain what he doesn't have time to explain.
Thanks, Destiny 1, for that classic.
Destiny's a great game, you shut up.
No, it's got so many problems.
You haven't even played it. It's a good game. Pyomon is knocked down and Chica runs to him. Pyomon says he has to protect her or else his manliness will rot. Because we've been talking to Masaru, apparently, despite not actually seeing Masaru, I think. No, he hasn't seen Masaru yet.
Oh my god! Where did he pick that up from?
I think maybe it's like ingrained in his mind brain. Chica gets Digisoul and says they'll fight together. And she has Digisoul like her brother and her father, which is nice.
I thought that she might get a Digivice at this point, and I would have been really annoyed.
I don't think Digivices are actually shown to be necessary.
No, I don't think they are either.
I think they help. They definitely help like the connection and they help the evolution. But I feel like this also shows that Chica is so cool and she's such a natural tamer. She doesn't need a Digivice.
We still don't know when Suguru made Digivices. We know he has one like years and years ago, but it's definitely not explained ever.
So Pyomon evolves and Chica's really badly animated. Like, what I noticed in this episode is the animation's quite good and there are lots of shadows drawn for the characters. Chica is still not well animated. She is, like, hang on, I have a screenshot and I want to show you this to you to illustrate how badly animated she is.
Oh, Jesus. That's a bad time.
Look how well, and I'll link this in the link dump because I'll post it on the on our various social media accounts, but look at the shadows on Garudamon.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. But look how Chica is just sort of like placed.
I'm a gremlin.
Like, she looks like she's been photoshopped in.
A little bit.
Like, she looks like someone's grabbed a picture of Garudamon, maybe from Digimon Adventure or something, even though it's better animated than Digimon Adventure.
Is it?
A little bit, because it's a couple of years. And then they've said, I want to put my OC on it. And they've sort of like sketched in their OC.
Did you do this?
No. But, oh shit. Like, if we zoom in, look at how badly she is drawn.
Why are her legs so tiny?
Why is Chica the worst thing that's animated in the entire series?
Okay. Look at the way her left leg begins. There is another joint between her
Yes.
knee and her hip.
Yes.
So that it bends 3 times.
Yes.
That's real bad.
Yes, but look how is she placed?
Yes, on the shoulder.
Yeah, but not well.
Okay.
No, but Chica is not well animated. It is sad.
Well, this is all a big time waster so that we can get to the bit where Graniamon says, Bencholeamon, my friend.
Well, just a bit after that, so we hop back to Yggdrasil talking, and he says that this is God's domain, and he shouldn't be there. Masaru asks why he's destroying the human world, and Yggdrasil says it's his duty to protect the digital world. And Masaru asks about his mother and sister, and Yggdrasil says that it was the human's fault for causing this calamity. And Masaru says that he's human too, and Yggdrasil says, I'm not a human, I'm a god.
Which is fine, because obviously a god is a status that could be anything, and it sort of refers to what's going on in his mind. And in the English, he says, I'm a Digimon.
What happens is Marcus says, you're not a Digimon, and he says, of course I am. I am their king. And then he says, when Marcus says, but you're my father, he says, I'm not your father.
Okay, but he says he's a Digimon, which is weird, right? Because
Yes.
he's not.
Oh no, he's not
just
a Digimon.
not.
He's their king, he's their god, he's not a Digimon.
I still think the difference between a god and a king here is really, really significant.
Yes. I'm just saying in different versions, he is a god or is he a king? Masaru remembers getting the pendant, and Masaru runs and goes to punch him, but a big barrier pushes him away.
You mean his wizard anti-punching armor?
Yes. Masaru is mad because he wants to fight with his fists, and he can't with his barrier. We see the other DATS members are fighting, and Thomas says Mirage Agumon should rely on physical attacks. And Rosemon and Ravemon are fighting too. In the dub, I noticed some terrible, terrible digital paint over Rosemon's bust.
That's alright. They gotta get rid of the
But
titties.
it is so badly done. It looks like they said, we have to edit that. In the last moments, they didn't even put even shading. It's just a flat color that they've put over the red, and they've drawn where the thorns are meant, the vines are meant to be. But they've also just given a solid color to that.
That's alright.
It looks like someone just started in Microsoft Paint, like a quick paint job.
Hey, look, 10 years ago, I'm just saying, they asked me, hey, can you fix this? And I said, oh yeah, totally, I'm a Photoshop expert.
I'm 14. I have Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, that's right, I'll do this.
It just doesn't look very good, and it's just sort of... I know, it was bothering me. It was like, it's fine to edit away the bust, and we've had some quite good edit jobs. The another one that I think about is back in the Belfmon arc, how we have Megumi and Mickey, and they're quite busty, and they... Even though this was inconsistent through the whole season about how busty they should be, they kind of just ignored that, and they kind of flattened them.
They gave them a double mastectomy every time.
Yeah, they deflated them, but in other scenes...
Deflated them.
But in other scenes in the dub, in that episode, they also left them with chests.
When they're in the background.
Yeah, but if they were on the main focus, they'd flatten them. And it looked weird comparing the two, but if you only saw one, it wouldn't be distracting. But this one was just one solid color.
My favorite thing about this fight scene is when Ravemon gets knocked out of the tree and Rosemon saves him with the whip from falling.
Okay, we could say that because
he's a bird.
I know, but we could say that he's injured and is unable to fly suddenly. Like, he's stunned.
I'm glad the show told us all about that.
I know, it could be possible.
It could be possible that the bird would have been fine from falling.
Okuto also bursts one of the crystals with his boomerang, which I think was pretty cool.
How weak are these things? Has he ever hit anything with the boomerang?
He hit Masaru and Masaru punched it and
yeah,
shattered
Masaru
it.
beat it with a fist.
But
Although
Masaru's
that's
the strongest Digimon.
To be fair, yeah.
So Garudamon is fighting Craniamon, and he says, look, I have no time for this. I have no time for you. And he flies off to see Bencholeamon, and Craniamon says he can't just stand by and watch his friend die. Masaru tells Agumon to stand back because it's a fight between him and his dad, and I really do like the scene. I've mentioned this quite often throughout Savers, is that I like how Masaru's not always just, okay, Agumon, you fight. He's explicitly saying, hey, Agumon, stand back. Like, this is a fight for me.
You mean you really enjoyed the exact same scene he had 2 episodes ago with Craniamon?
Yeah, this happens constantly, it's great.
I think he has a similar speech too. The I'll just keep doing this forever.
Yeah.
If I punch and I break my arm, I'll use my broken arms. It'll be fine. And at some point, it just cuts to him being blown out of the tree like Ravemon. Except this time he doesn't have wings, so we can't expect much from him.
Or Rosemon.
Well, there's no Rosemon around, except that there will be. And so he has some imagination as he's pretty sure he's about to die. And there's a voice there, and I go to myself, that doesn't quite sound like Bencholeamon's voice, but it's all about Digisoul, so I guess it is, and I must not be remembering it correctly.
Oh, but a bit before that, there's just a bit of a scene that I kind of like. So Masaru says that his father's back is big and warm, and it's why he's always done the best. And in the dub, he says how he always was walking in his footsteps, kind of trying to be him, trying to impress him, trying to become a man so when he came back, he could be the person he's meant to be. I know, I really like this scene because even though we've been told throughout the whole series that Masaru's dad is very important to him, and I especially like the line in the original about the back being warm and big and safe, because that's what a father's back is.
No, it's because the biggest impression Masaru ever had was when his dad turned his back on him to walk away.
Also that too. So then, he hears a voice, and it's saying, hey, didn't I already tell you about what the power of Digisoul was?
I just assumed it was LostinTranslationmon. That made most sense.
Actually, I thought it was LostinTranslationmon's voice.
But I go, that doesn't sound quite right. Is my theory totally correct? Is that possible?
In the dub, it's a separate voice. But I'm pretty sure in the original it might have been LostinTranslationmon.
Because Suguru's voice is exactly Kurata's voice, and I would recognize that. It's definitely the same voice actor, right?
But I'm not actually sure.
English Suguru and Kurata, I'm 100% that they're the same voice actor, without having looked it up.
That's awkward then.
Then
he had one adult male, yeah.
And so, in a move that is almost right out of the end of Frontier,
You shut up, this was a great
falling
scene.
Masaru is blasted back up with Mirage Galgamon's attack. For some reason, his Full Moon Blaster doesn't hurt him at all. It actually propels him upwards and doesn't hurt him in any way. Why would your first instinct be to attack him and not just go and catch him? Ravemon does it. Ravemon's not an idiot. And then Rosemon throws up Forbidden Temptation, which does not appear to have any effect whatsoever other than adding a color to his ascent.
He's using the Digisoul as a shield. Maybe.
No one can see how wide my eyes are here. I was like, since when was the Digisoul a shield?
Look, this scene just reminds me of...
And how would Mirage Galgamon know that?
Like a scene in Final Fantasy Advent Children when they're all throwing Cloud up into the sky, like with a whole group. It just it's more or less scene for scene that, and I actually really like this trope of all these friends are trying to pick him back up again.
Yes, but when they did that, did they shoot him with a gun?
All I know is
Or did they use their hands to throw him?
Yuffie threw him up in the air. That's all I remember because Yuffie's the best.
Was it with their hands, or did they shoot him?
She's just her ninja stars. No, it was their hands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I thought it was cool.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Lucimon hitting people with a laser and they bounce into the sky on a train.
And are unharmed.
And the best part about this is when the bad guy who has a magic anti-punching shield doesn't use it anymore. He doesn't break. It doesn't show anyone going through it. It doesn't even show him being surprised or anything. It's just forget he has it because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And then he gets punched.
Which is edited. Like the actual fist-to-face contact is edited in the dub. It's removed. The punch is seen, but from far away. But we don't get a close-up of, Masaru's fist. Basically, if Suguru was a real person here, he would probably have broken teeth.
The exact thing that I thought would annoy... Also, Masaru would break his hand.
Yeah.
The exact thing I thought would annoy me about this episode is happening, where Masaru is being given all the clues that the person in front of him is not his dad. And my favorite one is, how dare you hurt the body of the god of the digital world? It's like, well, what kind of weird thing is that to say?
I think my favorite proof of him not being his dad is when he says, I'm not your dad, or I'm a god.
Well, the I'm a god thing doesn't mean anything if you think that he's being crazy. But the body of the god of the digital world.
Masaru says that he hurt his dad and how he must still have his memories. Ichil says he can't forgive him, and Masaru says that he guessed his fist feelings didn't go through. I love how this is just a thing he's like, yes, my feelings in my fists.
My fist feelings.
That's where feelings
gross.
come from. It doesn't come from your heart, it comes from your fists.
What do you feel with your hands?
Yggdrasil makes a scary face, which I can only imagine to be like the that face that I believe it's Joey in Yu-Gi-Oh makes.
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is.
I uploaded a comparison shot.
Let's do it later.
Onto our social media, and I'll link it in the show notes. But it's it's pretty funny. But it's exactly like the face doesn't make sense, and I guess it's to give that sort of uncanny valley feel that this is not right. This is not a human's face.
I just thought that was bad animation, just showing him being angry.
No, yeah, that too. But it does remind me of Joey from Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't think I give the credit.
So then BanchoLeomon shows up and punches him. And
also, Masaru has the realization. Hey, hold on a second. I don't think that was my dad's voice. Sorry, I don't think that was BanchoLeomon's voice.
Yeah.
No, he goes, sorry, that was my dad's voice.
He explicitly says, he says, I heard my dad's, and I already said this part,
that was my dad's...
I'll say it again. He says that he heard his dad's voice and how he must still have his memories.
No, but that's my dad's voice. But when did my dad ever tell me about Digisoul? He doesn't know about that. That's the line.
Yeah, but he also says that he must still have memories. So it's not straight up saying that Yggdrasil is...
No, but he's talking
not
about
his
when he
dad.
goes black and he has the imagination
Yeah.
of the voice.
So Craniumon, he says that Bancholeomon says that Craniumon swapped places with him. And
What a good guy.
he isn't using Digisoul in his place, it's just power, which is we get a shot of Craniumon. And it's not Digisoul, it's just power.
Well, it's purple.
Yes, but it's not Digisoul. It's not like it doesn't have pixelated look like Digisoul.
It could be.
So it's showing us that Digimon don't have Digisoul.
Supposedly.
Now we know it's for sure.
Yes.
Yes. And Bancholeomon says that he's Masaru's father.
He just says, "That's me," which I thought would be said at the end, in the next episode, but I mean,
I mean, he just screams it and then the episode ends.
I'm just gonna say I called it.
Yeah.
Called
So
it a
then
what?
The next
Uh-huh.
episode, we don't get a recap. We just get Craniumon talking to Bancholeomon, and he says that he knows that he's Suguru, and Craniumon says that he wanted to believe in the power and friendship between human and Digimon. And it's the same line in the dub, which I really like.
The one that gets me is Masaru just like not believing him at all. Like all the evidence is there. He's like, but no, you're Bancholeomon.
And then there's a really nice scene where Masaru tells Bancholeomon that he can't believe him, and Bancholeomon says, "Remember that time when you were young and you hit your head on the monkey bars?" And this is something that we referenced back when we went to visit Okuto's parents. And he says, "Sure, kids remember things from when they were young. Like Okuto will remember this place even though he was a newborn. I have this scar here
Yeah.
from when I fell on the monkey bars." Except when the dub, when they decided to make a reference to his character in Kingdom Hearts, when he says he's got it memorized.
Got it memorized.
So this is a nice moment when they're saying, "Oh yeah, we did say that," but in the dub, he never actually said it.
Ruined.
So I feel like this moment isn't as important in the dub. Did you remember this?
Not at all.
Yeah, I only remembered it because I remember Ali Vorg talking about how it's ruined in the dub. But I'm just like, oh yeah. And also I remembered that the monkey bars line was important because I thought it was cute.
You know what is ruined in the dub?
What?
When Bancholeomon's response is, "A Bancho never lies." And because Masaru was very impressed by Bancho, which obviously
Yeah.
his dad is as well in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
That means something to him.
Yeah.
Whereas when he yells, "Bancholeomon never lies,"
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything.
Well, I guess because we can't actually say a bancho, I mean, maybe a chief or a captain never lies.
Like a boss.
A boss never lies. Yeah, a
But
boss
they do
never
all the
lies would be a good
time.
one.
But like that's such a weird line now. You can't yell, "I never lie," to convince someone that you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all liars would yell that all the time.
Yes, that too. But I feel like a bancho never lies is a good line in the original. But
It is.
I guess there's nothing that's a bancho in English, but I guess
They could have just introduced the concept of a bancho early and just explained what it meant.
yeah, that's fair.
Bancho means plan.
And plan means no one gets left behind or forgotten.
So we get this full like backstory of what happened to Suguru in the digital world. He was wandering around looking for Yggdrasil, and he just happens upon Bancholeomon, and they have a sweet Tekken fight in front of a volcano.
Oh, this is so cool, and the volcano explodes, which, you're right, that is such, like, a fighting game thing of, like, oh, look, they finished the battle and it explodes.
In Tekken 7, there are actually fights inside a volcano, which is more what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
But, and they do a lot of, like, the fist meet the fist sort of thing. And so they're just lying, like, panting next to each other.
Did you realise why this scene's important?
But, okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just want to see, so...
Is it because it's exactly what happened with Agumon?
Yes, thank you, I just wanted to see.
Yeah, because it's father like son, etc., etc.
Yeah, and it's a really nice line of sort of like, hey, you put in some pretty good hits. And more or less in the original, it is pretty much word for word of the same. And they're lying, and it's a sunset, and they're lying down, and they join hands, and it is very much like the Agumon and Masaru one. And it's just such like this nice little subtle, like, it's not trying to be like in your face about what it's a reference to.
I always think that the reason for Bancholeomon fighting him in the English makes sense. Oh, you're in my territory. Whereas in the Japanese, he asks such a weird question. What is more powerful, a Bancho or a god? And he's like, I've got stuff to do. Fight me.
Yeah. And though in the dub, it's different when they're talking, but more or less like the sunset's still there, and the fact they're lying down, the fact they join hands is still there, but the lines aren't as similar.
So then they find Craniumon and they laugh.
No, before that, Masaru interrupts saying, "But that doesn't make sense. What about, don't interrupt me when I'm talking?"
Why is he so aggressive?
Because he's a dad. He's a dad. He's being a dad. He's like, "Child, do not interrupt."
No, but then, okay, I don't...
This is a funny
I'm
moment.
not here to throw shade at you or anything, but most dads don't do that.
It's a funny moment, though.
Oh, you could think so. I
'cause
thought it was harrowing.
Masaru's just like, "But I have questions." It's adorable.
No, that's funny from him, but it's really scary when he gets
Yeah.
yelled at by this giant angry cat.
So basically, they start to adventure together, and Craniumon showed up.
And Craniumon, they laugh because, oh, no, you being here proves that Yggdrasil exists. So that's cool.
But it, out of context, just like, the Royal Knights burst into laughter. I'm like, same. Me too.
And so Craniumon challenges them to a fight to prove the humans have potential and aren't a big waste of space.
Which is also like the Masaru Craniumon fight, because that was the whole point. Like, the fight was to show the humans have potential.
And the problem here is that how does Craniumon know what a human is? I guess he would have heard about them, maybe.
From Yggdrasil, maybe, because they're the Royal Knights.
And then it appears that Banjolimon has become a Digimon partner because he's bonded with the Digivice.
Yeah.
And he goes into burst mode. That's how he knows about burst mode.
Because Masaru's dad built the Digivices.
At some point.
At some point. We don't know where, but like he did them at one point.
And he built them for no reason because he didn't have a Digimon partner at the time.
So we see Banjolimon burst mode, which is basically just like Banjolimon but set on fire.
Fantastic. And then they just win immediately.
Yeah.
Which impresses Yggdrasil so much, he grows the world tree. And then he speaks to them for a little while. And then they go, and then peace should have been achieved that day until, and Kurata's like first attempt at genocide happened that day.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, killed like 20 Digimon. Like, really. But they put Suguru in Digi jail.
Yes, and Yggdrasil captures him. And Bancholeomon says that answering hatred with hatred will only make things worse, which is fair enough, and that's basically more or less what happened in this season.
And so he says, okay, well, I promise you humans are good, and I promise you in my life that humans won't do this again, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, that kind of makes sense if he's given the opportunity to, like, do something about it. But then years later, like 5 years later, Kurata killed Mercurymon, and he's still in jail. And they go, well, your bet was wrong.
It's more than 5 years later, isn't it?
Well,
well, let's say this was...
We guess that the first attempt at the genocide was like 5 years ago.
No, because the first attempt was...
So it was less than 5 years ago.
I thought it was more than 5 years ago, right?
No, because Ikuto is alive and is able to retain memories at the time.
Oh, yeah, he's like... Okay, yeah, maybe it was 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. And then he's in jail the entire time up until 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
When Mercurymon died. And then they said, well, it's all your fault. Well, not your fault, but like, you bet your life on this. Well, maybe they should have let him go so that he could, like, put in any active change.
And I feel like if he was let go, he might have been able to stop Kurata.
Absolutely, because he knows Kurata's the problem.
Yeah.
In fact, he was aware that he was the one who did this, so he could have come back in, and he had authority at the time, and because everyone trusted him, because he was, like, the lead researcher, and that would have solved all the problems. So one could say that Yggdrasil's decisions not to let Suguru go, essentially for no reason, caused the plot of the entire show.
Yeah, and this is also when he finds out that Masaru's in the digital world too.
Yes. It's really bad.
And Suguru pleads to be free, but Bancholeomon says, hey, look, you promised with your life, and a man doesn't go back on his word.
Yeah, and that's fine, I guess, if you get to this point. And then so they put him up there for like an execution by all the Royal Knights. And right before it happens, Bancholeomon shows...
No, but before that, Suguru says about how he wants to make his son into a grown man. He really needs to see him become a grown man and sort of like nurture him and help him grow up.
Yeah.
Because that's what's important, because he's like, oh, he needs to be a grown man, and I need to be there.
I didn't beg 5 years ago, and I definitely didn't just go home when I had the opportunity, but this is what's important to me now.
I think he just forgot that his son existed, maybe.
Like, why search for Yggdrasil? He learned and got nothing out of it, but obviously finding his son was important enough that it took 10 years for him to ask to do it. So eventually one shows up and is like, no, stop, I'll do it, and he just kills him.
Yeah, because he wants to do it as a friend. In the dub, the huge hole is edited out, because there's a huge hole in Suguru's chest.
It wasn't a huge hole the other way. It was a black spot. And
It's a hole in his chest, isn't
if
it?
it was a hole, you'd be able to see through it, and you can't.
And
that'd be awesome.
It's edited out.
But also, it wouldn't make sense for when like the body gets picked back up.
This is usually how Leomon dies.
Yeah,
gets
being hit in the
impaled
chest.
in the chest. Yeah, but this is the way that a human dies. I mean, he becomes Leomon.
It just hit me that at the end of the last episode that Leomon died. That's hilarious. I didn't actually think about it because I was like, oh, Suguru died. No, Leomon died again.
Yes, Leomon
Guaranteed every time.
Second Leomon in a season.
Incredible. So
Bancholeomon pleads with Yggdrasil and says, look, he tells Suguru to become one with him to live, and that's the only way he can live.
No, so first he pleads with Yggdrasil, and Yggdrasil's like, fine, I hear you, we're going to try and make peace with the humans if possible, which he never does. Then Suguru kind of wakes up and transfers his spirit with the Digivice.
Somehow.
Good thing the Digivice is designed to do that.
Yeah.
You think that Masaru can put his mind into Agumon's body? How cool would that be?
That'd be really cool. I think Masaru would want that, though. But Masaru would just punch Shine Greymon. Yeah. But that's not how Shine Greymon fights. Masaru's like, I don't care.
So here, I think, is where the story falls apart. Because in each 30-second chunk, it makes sense. Because you cut back, and Leomon says, okay, we couldn't tell you that I was Suguru this entire time because we wouldn't want Yggdrasil to find out. And Masaru goes, you know what? That makes perfect sense. And I've written down here, okay, that makes sense. Cut back to the flashback, and Yggdrasil goes, how dare you try to fool me? I found out right now. and then he goes over to the dead body. That body is dead.
Yes.
There is no way that Suguru or Eventually imagine that body, they're ever going to get him back into the body, right?
Right.
So when he says, I'm taking this body hostage, and if you ever tell people about your identity, I'm going to destroy it, why does that matter?
I think it's because the Japanese are really, like, they're a bit different than we are about the body, about the existence of the body. Like, they want to have that buried, and they want to have that as a formal burial. And I read somewhere that they don't like desecration of the body.
I mean,
so the fact that he will destroy the body, he's not going to give it a good funeral. He's not going to, celebrate it. He's just going to destroy it.
Is that more important than telling your son that you're still alive?
I think that it's like the same sort of thing as I believe that older Japanese people don't like secondhand, especially secondhand clothes or secondhand like belongings, because they have the spirit of the previous person and they're bad luck to have.
Do you think that cultural implication is strong enough to outweigh the obvious benefits of just telling people
I think
stuff?
Maybe. I think it explains why they don't want the body destroyed, and that why that is such a huge threat.
And obviously the final thing is, there's a serious question of why does Yggdrasil care if LostinTranslationmon says that Suguru is still alive?
I think it's better than no explanation of why they didn't tell Masaru earlier.
No, but why does he care? And the only explanation given for that, and this is the linchpin that supposedly holds the entire thing together, is when Toma guesses maybe it was a test.
Oh yeah, that too.
What does that mean?
See, I forgot about the whole test thing because I wasn't sure what it meant.
And there was no test because the thing that drives Yggdrasil, supposedly, is the worlds coming together.
Yeah.
That event had nothing to do with the actions of LostinTranslationmon and Suguru whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the entire plot line that stopped Suguru from telling Masaru that he was still alive was pointless. It feels like they didn't have a good reason.
Well, Yggdrasil says that humans never reflected on their ways, and what he really wanted was humans to reflect on their ways, but what they were doing was fighting Digimon instead of sitting back and reflect.
I actually think they said they were running and fleeing in terror. What were they meant to do? Sit down and let the Royal Knights kill them?
Yeah. Okuda remembers his parents and how they're working together to help both worlds and how humans do try hard. Yggdrasil says that humans are unnecessary and all those who defy him must die. Agumon says that he has fun with his Aniki. In the dub, he says, "You're not a king because a king would know what Digimon want, and I want Boss to live."
That's really not how monarchy works. You don't get to tell people they're not a king just because you don't like their policies.
And
That's how revolution
Galmon
works.
is proud to be with his master. In the dub, he says a king should know the humans and Digimon fight best side by side. And Lalamon says she loves Yoshino. In the dub, it's the same. She's like, yeah, and I love my partner Yoshino. Falcomon says that Akuda is precious, but in the dub, he says Keenan is my closest friend. Agumon says that humans and Digimon appreciate each other. Bancholeomon says that sometimes a man must make sacrifices, and Masaru should take care of Chika and Sayuri, so he holds on to Yggdrasil so Masaru can kill them both.
So here's the thing, right? All of these arguments are really terrible in the face of the thing that Yggdrasil was saying beforehand, which was, look, one of the worlds has to go. It may as well be theirs and not ours.
Yes.
That is such a legitimate point that they've had to back it off because there's no way the main characters can have moral high ground in the face of that, because then they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Think about what's happening. The humans are the bad guys coming in to stop the people trying to save the digital world so that it will be the one that's destroyed.
Right.
Because there's no plan that Masaru has in his mind to save this world. He wants to stop Yggdrasil destroying his home, which means this one necessarily has to go. They're the bad guys. And that's cool, but the fact that they're not going to reflect on that at all bothers me. Instead, they're going to change the motivation of the bad guy to be that he hates humans so that we don't have to talk about it and not make it obvious that the kids are evil in this case. Or at least there's an evil part of what they're doing.
So Masaru screams and gets Digisoul and doesn't punch, so it's one of those rare situations where that happens. In the dub, when he goes to evolve Agumon, he uses his big boy voice again, which is like when his voice just becomes deep all of a sudden. It's strange. Agumon evolves, and Bancholeomon says he was prepared to die when he revealed who he was. Shine Greymon kills them both. Meanwhile, Slipmon and Dukemon are frozen underwater, and they felt that Yggdrasil has died. And Slipmon says that God isn't absolute, and Dukemon agrees, but he said no, other way around. Dukemon says that, do you realize now that God isn't absolute? And then Slipmon says, yeah, we realized too late.
You mean the other way around?
Sorry, Slipmon says that God isn't absolute, and Dukemon says, yeah, he realized too late.
Because they're floating in ice to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I guess that's the end of that chapter. Poor Kudamon.
It'll melt eventually. See,
I got confused because I wrote it the right way, but then I was like, wait a minute, Dukemon's a bad guy?
Ah, that makes sense.
So that's why I was like, Sleepmon says, wait, no, that's not right. Dukemon says, wait. Dukemon's can't be a bad guy, but I guess I always forget. It just doesn't feel natural that Dukemon is sort of more or less was a bad guy in this season.
I think that would have been much more narratively interesting if Masaru sort of worked out in this moment that there are times that he's not willing to fight and to attack, and that maybe not doing anything was the correct decision to make. Because we discover in about 30 seconds that he killed his dad for no reason.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
Yeah, Yggdrasil's still alive and is doing just fine.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, right.
So he just killed... Like, if he doesn't say at the beginning of the very next episode, oh my god, I just killed my dad and it was for nothing. That's going to be, like, how depressing... It's depressing to think about it, but it's going to be more depressing if the show's just like, no, it was fine. We needed to do that.
So Yggdrasil's form looks dumb.
It's just a big shark. It's a big metal shark.
Yeah, it's better than the crystal ball in X Evolution.
Is it?
I kind of like its design.
Yeah, because I always think that the bigger and supposedly scarier the final boss is, the worse it is.
Also, what's that storytelling about how different types of storytelling, like man versus man, man versus world, man versus god?
Yeah, so classical, modern, postmodern.
Have you noticed that Digimon Savers is all of those?
I mean... No, it's only 2 of those.
No, I feel like it's all of them, because I feel like I've seen, like, the grid of, like, the 9 different types, and it's like...
No, there is no man against author here. So, no, it is not the full 9. Let me tell you that right now. There's no man against society.
I'll show you one that I saw if I can find it.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I think you're wrong. Is man versus man, there's man versus god. That's the only 2 here. But It's not god in a traditional sense. It's more man versus the monarchy.
Right. Well, in the original, it's man versus god.
No, but, like, even then, like, it's not god in a traditional sense, where that man versus god story is not about there is a guy over there who says he's god.
Right.
That it's about against the concept.
What do you think of both these episodes as someone who's new to Digimon?
So, I'm really happy that I called it. I'm delighted by that. And I think that on a base level, they had some reasonable ideas on how this all came together and that the story was okay. But I think that when you put it all together, it becomes really obvious that everyone's motivations don't make sense.
Right.
Unless you do some really skillful mental gymnastics to like be like, oh, but if it's this, and I think it could be that, and if you take a really favorable interpretation of most of the things that are going on, maybe it makes sense. I think that you could do that, but I think that is generally a waste of time.
And what ratings did you give both these episodes, and then separately and then together?
So the first one, which is really just they're fighting crystals that don't do anything, and there's a lot of punching and weird nonsense going on, but it was still weirdly enjoyable, so I gotta give it a 6.
I gave it an 8.
I definitely don't think it deserved an 8.
What about the second episode?
And the second one, again, like, even though it all fell apart and I really think it didn't make sense, it was still enjoyable enough that, like, and it didn't feel like it undermined the plot of everything. It felt like, okay, fine, I could have used more hand waving. If they explained less, that would have been better. But overall, I think it was fine, and I think I'm gonna give them both a 6, and that's the overall.
I gave the second one a 10.
That's unbelievable.
I really enjoyed it. I felt like the explanations were good.
Do you
really
still
enjoyed
think they're
it.
good?
Yes.
Even after I told you why they're not?
I still think it's fine. I enjoyed the episode. It was fun. It had an explanation. I shed a tear when Suguru and LostinTranslationmon both died and sacrificed themselves.
But it was pointless.
Yes, and it's still sad. You know what? That even makes it even sadder. It was sad.
It was
a sad episode. And I don't know, the explanation was good. I loved the mirroring that happened between Agumon and Masaru meeting each other. The monkey bars reference, I believe, was in this episode, so that was great too. And if it was in the last episode, that even justifies my 8. Both were good episodes. I think together, maybe they're a 9, because that would make sense between 8 and 10.
One would imagine.
I really liked this episode. I really liked watching it. I didn't mind watching it again because I liked the episode so much. This is the best episode in Savers so far.
You're okay. I don't agree, but that's fine.
I don't remember enjoying an episode of Digimon this season as much as I enjoyed this episode. And I have enjoyed a lot of episodes this season. I feel like this was a really good episode, and they explained things. I
enjoyed Ikuto hanging out at the house with all the Digimon more.
That was good, and I do like the last time we had Akuto hanging out that was before that was also enjoyable. And
I'm more talking about that one where they're playing like the bad shogi game.
Yeah, that previously was my favourite episode, I believe. I think I gave that a 9 or something. I don't know. That was a good episode. Even some of the Biohybrid episodes were good, but this episode I think was my favourite so far. It's the only one I've given a 10 to. I feel like I haven't given a 10 at all this season, and I feel like this episode deserves it. I don't think that we can get a better episode this season, in my eyes, in my opinion.
Well, we'll find out in the next 2, but there's no no good setup for it because all the story's over. Now
Yes.
it's just fighting a big evil thing.
Yes. So that's why I think that it deserves a 10, because I feel like this is the peak.
Can't wait for Masaru to go home and tell his mom he killed his dad.
Yeah.
Twice. Killed his spirit and his body separately.
How this episode compared to your predictions of Obnoxious Synopsis? I guess both
Called
the episodes.
Like, okay, the first one I described almost exactly correct, where I said that the other kids would split off and they'd fight things and he would go off and confront his dad, except the only difference is that they fought a weird, crappy antivirus instead of the Royal Knights, which would have made more sense. That would actually keep them off because the Royal Knights would attack them. And then in the second one, I mean, mostly it's backstory, and I can't say that I called it correctly in the second one that you find out Leomon is the dad because you found it out in the first one. Otherwise, the thing that would annoy me, I think Masaru should have known that something was going on because it had been really strongly foreshadowed that a human's mind can be inside a Digimon's body, like controlling it or being in there, because that's
Right.
what Kurata's whole story was about at the end.
Right.
So yeah, that was super annoying and bad.
What was the major difference you noticed between the Japanese and the English?
So I gotta say, the first one, it's when he just says in the English, pretty much straight out, is "I'm a Digimon."
Yes.
Because
No, that was weird.
because the whole thing that I found in the Japanese is that he doesn't say things that are conclusive outside of really broad statements like "I'm a god," which isn't conclusive. Nothing about his relationship here. Whereas when he says "I'm a Digimon," now you're being driven to think something else entirely. And in the second one, it has to be a Bansho never lies and a Bansho Leomon never lies.
Yes, I feel like that had less impact. Mainly for me, I think it's like the whole king versus god thing.
Yeah, but I can't use that every time.
Yeah. Also, the bad editing of Rosemon's bust.
Nice.
Like, I think they just might have forgotten until, like, they were putting the episode on the tape to broadcast it or something. It was just bad.
But I wouldn't describe that one as a big change in the sense that, like, the story doesn't
annoying.
change.
Yeah, but it was annoying.
It annoyed you.
But we know all about Suguru now, and that's that for that arc. What are your thoughts?
As I said before, I really think that when it's all explained and put on the table, that they probably should have given it one or two more drafts. It's because I don't think the characters' motivations make sense and their actions don't make sense. Like, Yggdrasil is consistently doing these things that are completely self-destructive and self-defeating.
Right.
And it's never presented in a way that, like, that character would do that. And Suguru doesn't care about his son until he's about to die and makes a promise on his life and is never given an opportunity to do anything about it. But he's totally blamed for that promise. Like, it's so strange. And then he never... I can kind of understand this Japanese cultural issue about the body, but they really didn't think they'd be doing it. I don't think that they thought they would get a use out of the body or do anything with it until Yggdrasil showed up.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the character just changed and now can't tell anybody. Went from someone who could have been the most useful character to being one of the least useful characters.
Right. And I guess, do you think we're done with the Royal Knights now?
I mean, there's still a bunch in the real world, but I think that they're done as enemies.
Right. So we didn't have like one per episode. We just had a couple, and then the rest just sort of stood around wreaking havoc and not having the international dats.
There are two in the real world who I think we're never going to have conclusions about. I'd be surprised if we saw them again.
They had a lot of monologues, though. They were like, hey, so Masaru is in the digital world now. Do you
That was
wanna
a
go kill some
dialogue. They
humans?"
talked to each other.
I meant dialogue, yeah. They were just... We had a lot of chatting between them.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Screech of the week. Mine's just them punching in front of the volcano because I thought that was really cool. I felt like the whole backstory between them, and I think this is why I enjoyed the episode so much, was really cool. And as I said, the whole like reference to Agumon and Masaru meeting, it was cool.
Mine's Agumon being Charmander.
Yeah, that's fair. Digimon introduced. We had Banshaleemon Burst Mode. What are your thoughts?
It's Banshaleemon, don't ask.
Good point. The Postmon Pat this week. This week we had the weekly poll, which is the best burst mode. And Jay will read the comments, and then I will say the results.
We got one from Embermoto who says, of course they voted for the Disney princess Mirage Galgamon. And Elivorg who says, Mirage Galgamon Burst Mode is a unicorn dog knight with fabulous hair. What's not to love?
So who's your favourite? Because I like Rosemon.
I can't say Ruin Mode, can I?
No, you can't say Ruin Mode's
That
burst
doesn't
mode.
count? Okay.
Ruin Mode was cool though.
I actually do like Rosemon. I like her colour scheme a lot.
Yeah. So there were total 9 votes. Mm-hmm. The winner was Mirage Galgamon with 4 votes. And Rosemon and Ravemon both had 2 votes. But I guess, including our vote, Rosemon had 4 votes.
Brings it to a draw.
And Shine Greymon had 1 vote.
Banshaleemon should have been on that poll. I wouldn't have looked at it. It would have been fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But
We got 0 votes. That's cool.
I would have voted for Banshaleemon.
No, you
Oh, no,
wouldn't.
Rosemon is cool. Like, I love Rosemon.
And we got one message on Tumblr from Elivorg who says, Sleepmon does in fact have 8 legs like his namesake, without counting his arms. The frontmost pair of legs are tiny and vestigial, but they are there. Digimon is apparently pretty good at giving the correct amount of legs to Digimon that are based off myths, because Yatagaramon has 3 legs, just like the mythological 3-legged crow Yatagarasu. And Sleepmon, Craniumon, and Duffmon are the 3 Royal Knights who were designed as the new Royal Knights between X Evolution and Sabers. Unlike Sleepmon and Craniumon, Duffmon doesn't have an important role in the overarching story. This is probably why they gave Duffmon his own episode with him in the title, even though it's really about Yoshi and Ikuto, and tried to play up his power means justice thing as if it mattered, because look at our other exciting new Royal Knights, guys. And Jay probably is going to say this is dumb, and I agree. And it is! It's, why would you design all these characters and then be like, we actually have nothing to do with them? So let's give him an episode in which he shows up, says a thing, and dies. That's going to impress the kids. That'll get him over.
That's better than them designing a character and using it for the card game and then it never showing up.
Actually, like, I think that's better, because that character can't be ruined then.
It's how I feel about a lot of the armor evolution. Like, the lot of the armor Digimon were designed for the card game and for the WonderSwan game, but a lot of people didn't play those, so they introduced them into the anime as, like, Monster of the Week, or, like, hordes of Digimon.
It's way worse that they introduce them and they ruin them than I think that they just leave them to your imagination.
We've never seen the best one, which is Rinkmon, though. It's Hawkmon with the Diego friendship, it was in my fanfic.
Imagine how ruined it would be if Rinkmon showed up and it was a dork.
Oh, I would have loved that.
No, like a dork, as in, like, it was just like a jobber. Like, it showed up and he just got killed in hordes.
Immediately, yeah.
And then just really boring and uninteresting.
I want to be a hero.
No, but it won't be.
Yeah.
Right? Because the thing you love doesn't work out that way.
I like how All Force Vegemon's there, my best friend. Pink and blue friend. It's
in
good, great colour scheme. Should be used more.
They say the dub actually changes Duffmon's motto. The original power means justice becomes justice equals power. The former is, as I said, if you're strong, that means you're right, which is very unsympathetic. The latter is that if you're in the right, that'll make you stronger, which is, in theory, more sympathetic. However, Leopardmon is still willing to murder babies who get in his way, so this change doesn't actually affect how he comes across, and I have to wonder if the dubbers even realized that switching the order of the words changed the meaning, or if they just did it by accident. The thing with Keenan being the babies' boss in the dub is kind of a mess. Keenan says that he'll be a big brother to them like Marcus is, which is apparently why Agumon calls Marcus boss. But calling a guy your boss doesn't give any connotations of them being like your big brother, which is especially bad when I think about it, because when Marcus says it, Agumon talks about being an employee, remember? He doesn't say it anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what he means when he says boss. He thinks of it like a job. And these things are saying, yeah, boss, are we baby employees now? If the dub had translated Aniki as bro in the first place, like it should have, and like Gurren Lagann does, I've only ever seen Gurren Lagann in English, actually. That makes a lot of sense. This wouldn't have been a problem. By the way, Gurren Lagann's like the only anime I've ever been like, yeah, no, watch that one in English. Like, recommended in English. It's definitely very good in Japanese, but I love the English dub of that, actually. They go on to say that Masaru has not accepted that his dad is evil. He would not be able to function if he'd accepted that. During the short period in which he believed that was the truth, he was vacant and unresponsive and didn't even want fried eggs. That's how you knew things were serious. He's okay right now because after the pendant flashbacks, he's convinced himself that his dad is only evil on the surface and the real him is still in there somewhere and will come out if Masaru punches him hard enough, because obviously punching someone is the best way to get across your feelings for them. And I still think he should have been willing to believe that there was like some possession or something going on, because he'd seen evidence of something similar happening in the past. Speaking of which, in the dub of episode 44, Marcus continues to be inconsistent about whether he wants to just punch out his dad or sit him down and literally talk to him. Marcus is weirdly tsundere again when Thomas and Co come to rescue him. Thomas says, we came because we care. And Marcus says, what? I never asked you to do that. Which sounds very much like he's saying not that he never asked them to come, but that he never asked them to care about him. Babaka. And finally, it is pretty silly for Tom and Yoshi to think that attacking the shield is a remotely decent strategy. The moment is somewhat salvaged in the original by the fact that Masaru himself doesn't think he's being strategic at all. He just wants to knock Craniumon off his high horse, which is a very Masaru thing to do. Yes. In the dub, Marcus actually, probably, I think it's Toma, actually agrees that he's being strategic and is the one to explain the supposed strategy of break the shield, lower his defenses, which is really weird and out of character. character.
Yeah. Well, no one should try to break the shield because we know that Masaru is the strongest one. So why would they want to do anything else, right? Just have Masaru punch it.
Why would anyone else even throw attacks? Just wait. Just watch him.
Watch Masaru punch it. He'll do it.
If everyone just stands in the way as human shields for him, then we can definitely get this done.
Yeah, be distractions. It's fine.
Alright, everybody. Join us for the next episode of Scum's Wish, the Data Squad's finale battle.
Or Protect the Future, Dats's final battle.
And the Ultimate Farewell.
Or A Complete Conclusion, Farewell, Leader of Fights. Sounds like it's from a different anime.
Farewell, Leader of Fights.
That's like a different... But why does it sound like a different anime?
Because Leader of Fights sounds like a crap anime title.
Sounds like the King of Fighters.
A little bit. I also like it's the final battle, and then there's another episode afterwards. You're like, okay, I guess nothing happens in that one.
Well, how often does Digimon have the last episode just being like a farewell episode?
It was once.
Okay, good point.
Yeah,
it was
good point. One time.
Good point. For Weekly Wonders this week, I'm going to say speed skating because I got a pair of speed skates.
You did it last week.
No, I said rollerblading last time.
That's the same thing.
I might have said street skating even.
You said speed skating, and then, by the way, speed skating is great.
No, I said but now I actually have street skates.
No, you don't use the speed skates.
I meant speed skates.
Yeah,
I mean, I do have street skates. I'm using my original pair for my street skates.
Okay, you like going fast. Okay,
yeah,
just replay last episode if you want to hear the rest of the details on this one.
I got speed skates that make me go really, 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 really fast, except the wheels are like twice as big because they're 105 millimeters or 110 millimeters.
11 centimeters.
Very large.
Like a normal person.
What?
Just say centimeters like a normal person.
They're measured in millimeters because usually they're under a centimeter.
Okay.
But
wait, they're under a centimeter?
Well, yeah. No, I'm not sure what they measure from because usually they're like 70 millimeters. Like
okay, that's 7 whole centimeters.
I mean, sorry, they're usually under 10. So they usually said... I'm very tired. Anyway, they are very large wheels.
Okay.
And I want to do it again tonight after we're done recording.
I played ukulele, which I do recommend. It is fun, and it's sort of like a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. And it's got a really bright world, and it's really interesting, and the characters are fun. And it's basically Banjo-Kazooie, but with a lot of the characters changed and the theme different. And very much the ex-Rare Studio guys saying how much they hate Microsoft quietly, because the bad guys is big corporation.
Oh no.
However, I just finished playing Mario Odyssey, and Mario Odyssey is such a perfect game in every way that playing another platform right afterwards, I'm feeling all the I wish this was like Mario Odyssey. I wish the movement was the same. I wish it was quite just as smooth. I wish Mario Odyssey has the best thing in the world, which is if you have a thought in your mind of, I wonder if I did this, if that would be interesting. There's always something there for you. There's always some reward for you doing something, just going out of your way to do something interesting. And ukulele doesn't do that. It's all cool. It's all got a nice busy world, and it's got fun stuff to do.
Right.
But it's just not that tight first party Nintendo experience. I'm sad that the small indie studio couldn't make a tight first party Nintendo experience, but this is where I'm at.
It's on Switch, yeah?
It is now.
It's on everything, yeah.
It is now. It's been on everything else for months, and now it's on Switch.
Is it on Xbox, even though they're making fun of Xbox?
Yes. They're not making fun of Xbox. They're making fun of
big corporations
Microsoft.
like Microsoft, yeah, who own Xbox.
Yes.
You can find linked in the description. And this week's weekly poll is X Evolution Yggdrasil or Save as Yggdrasil. You can also find our screenshots of the week, our weekly wonders, and the weekly poll that I just said in the link dump. Our Redbubble is also linked in the description, and you can get more than just shirts there too. You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a Discord thread on With the Will and a Red thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we would appreciate if you would review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and any other podcast listening app that you use. Ratings really assist people finding the podcast, so we'd really appreciate if you tried to send us a review. Also, we'll read it out in Postmon Pat. And we have a website where you can vote in our weekly polls, check out our release schedule, and check out our blog posts. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month, and that gets you access to a list of Slack chat group, where there are higher levels with more rewards such as notes, early episodes, and more. And thank you to our Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who has a podcast with Stevie called The Moncast, Stevie, who is also Stevie Padman on Tumblr, is currently taking commissions there, Wu Qinglong, who you can find at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong, Metal Mamemon, Joe, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki in the number 1 on YouTube, Chuckmon, Hirolado, who's at Hirolado on Twitter, Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who's Frostmeragic on Archive of Our Own, and Inkit.com/Ryden Allen, Stephen Reeves, who's at WildWing64 on Twitter, Kaidawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai236 on Tumblr,
Kyle, the Lady Bugman, whose anime blog you can find at baguburagu.wordpress.com, Glitchgoat, Ezra McCool, Gene Hackmon, who hosts New World Sonata, a sci-fi fantasy audio drama podcast, Matthew, Anthony, who is at AntoClassic on Twitter, Lizmet, who's Lekmon on Tumblr, Sithobi, Ellivorg, who is Ellivorg on Tumblr, Sporky McFork and Spoon, who hosts Going Digital, another Digimon podcast, Megan, Kyliak, Neoboo, Jams, The Time Optimist, Silverhaired Freak 25, Harvey, Alex, and Nicholas.
You can also make a one-off donation on our PayPal, which you found in the description. It's paypal.me/Agumon. Make sure to let us know the podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.